All right, Brandon, we're going to look at your swim stroke. We'll start here from the side, and we have two views, uh, imposed on top of the other. We've got your underwater here and your above water up here, which you'll come into view here in just a second. All in all, your swim stroke looks really good. There's just a couple of minor things I want to talk about today. Um, we see here your body position is really good. You're up on top of the water. Your head is low in the water. Eyes pointing towards the bottom of the pool, slightly forward. Good body position. Good head position. Now you've already taken quite a few strokes without a breath. I doubt that you do that normally. In the future, when you video, definitely breathe normally, because your breathing stroke, we're going to see the problem here. So here we go. And you can see right away from both above and below water. So here's that good head position. Um, and then watch how instead of just rotating the chin to the side, what's going to happen first is the head pops up out of the water. Now you can see the almost the entire top of the head. You can see eyes are much more forward now. Entire swim cap out of the water up here. Looks like both goggles. Yeah, definitely now both goggles up out of the water. Almost the entire swim cap. Just a little portion of that underwater here. And a bit of over rotation too. Um, whereas we've got right now, here's kind of the water line. Um, and really because of this little bow wake here, the water line's really something like this. Um, but regardless, we've got both of your goggles up out of the water here. If you just rotate your head to the side without lifting, what we'll see is a water line kind of like that, maybe even slightly lower like this, but the majority of this goggle should be underneath the water. And the head should be more in a horizontal position rather than position up like that. This is what your breath should look like. Yeah, bad line. But more like this, with majority of this goggle underneath the water line split in the head kind of down the middle. It's still lifted slightly, but it's much more what it should look like rather than that. What happens when you lift that head, the feet want to drop. Anytime you do something above water up here, the feet want to drop down here. And as a result of those feet wanting to drop, here's what happens here. Rather than get what we'd like to see here is this upper portion of the arm stay parallel to the surface like this. The forearm out here, and then the first thing the hand will do is bend down a little bit. In the next sequence, this upper arm stays about the same position. The forearm starts to come down, and the hand down. And the forearm down a little more, and the hand down a little more. This first part is the catch, and then the rest of this is a pulling action to the rear. You may have heard it described as putting your arm over a barrel. That's what we want to do, is wrap our arm around that barrel. Rather than do that, because the head is lifted, the feet want to drop down. So to compensate for those feet dropping down, what you're going to see is this hand right here is going to push straight down, or relatively straight down. And so all of this motion from here down to here is going downward. It's not being used to propel you forward. It's only being used to keep those feet up near the surface of the water. All that being caused by lifting the head. Okay, here's another thing, once again a minor thing that I'd like to talk to you about and get you started. Okay, here we are, nice recovery position. If this forward arm were a little more like this at this point rather than straight down here, this would be a really good looking picture because you are fairly horizontal. You can see up top here, even though your head's slightly pointed up, just about half of your head above the water, arm in a good position. But once it enters the water is where we have issues. See how that hand's going straight down? I'd like to see that hand go more horizontal rather than vertical. So the hand goes down and then straightens out. And so your hand is down in this position right here before you even start your pull. So up here is the top of the water. You've got all this distance that you've already lost because you have that really steep entry into the water. So let's get that entry and get it leveled out a little more and not come straight down like that. I like several things about the entry. One is it's happening near the head. You enter the water up here close to the front of your head. The problem is that it's very steep. That hand's going down this direction, and therefore you're losing all this distance here. We've already lost that. See how this hand over here is much closer to the surface of the water. This is much more like what we'd like to see. So a couple things there. Head position, definitely rotating when you, and you can see here it's even a little bit high. You're looking a little too far forward. I like to see you looking more down in this position. If you start with your head down in this position, it's going to be much easier to rotate it straight to the side. So head position, your head turning, rotating to the side rather than lifting. And then finally, this hand as it enters the water, not so steep and not so deep. Other than that, good looking swim. Keep up the good work. Work on those couple of things. But first and foremost is the head position. So get that nice and low to start with, and then rotate on a fixed axis rather than lifting and rotating at the same time. Good job.